Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of the Jaded Mechanic Podcast. I'm sitting here at Seaman APPEX with... Introduce yourself.
I'm Chuck Mitchell, Charles, but everybody calls me Chuck.
Yeah.
Different from Check Engine Chuck because we're totally different. I started out mid-90s as a lube tech, kind of went into the diesel fleet field for years, worked on school buses. Played a little bit in Napa and ran a couple Napa stores.
Oh, right on.
And then a couple years ago, as I was getting older, decided I needed to do something with my life and actually grow up, and ended up buying a small dealership and a shop. We got 3 service bays, and now it's figuring out how to make this a lot better than what we see today, and kind of help through all the struggles that we see. And
now the age thing, how old? What was this like? How old are you to make this decision?
So I'm 46 now.
Okay.
I'll be 47 in a few months. So
right on.
I'm getting up there. I started in high school at a Quick Lube. And then I went to college and dropped out of college. I went to UTI for a couple of years and never finished the program because I was bored.
Right.
And wanted to actually just get to work. Friend of mine got me into school buses, worked at a fleet shop, and that's where I did a lot of my learning, not only on the mechanic side, how to fix stuff, how to diagnose stuff, but a lot of the leadership stuff too.
Right.
I ended up kind of growing up in that and becoming a shop manager. And at the end of my school bus career, which was almost 15 years long,
wow.
I managed a fleet of 200 buses, had 9 mechanics under myself, and a lot of the technology kind of shied me away. I was getting sick of the struggles and the pinch that
because there's a lot more going on in those buses than I think when we realized, right?
Sure. Yeah. So we were DEF had just kind of come out when I got out of it, and that was the big headache. Is a lot of the emission stuff was kind of being shoved onto diesels, and when you're in a fleet contract like that, you got contracts, you got budgets you got to meet and stuff like that, and then they put new technology on you that isn't quite where it needs to be. That puts a lot of stress in the middle,
and
on
I
the
can
maintenance
remember
guys.
A lot of the learning blocks were like a lot of that stuff was still very OE level proprietary.
Oh yeah,
right. Like you couldn't get.
Yep.
I know I did a tenure at a bus shop and on the heavy truck side as well.
Yeah.
And like if you're not buying the OE software, you're not getting a lot of the time that regen done.
Sure.
And that's even like I just need a regen, right? So I can go down the road.
Yeah.
Chuck, that there's issues there as to why it all of a sudden needs a ton of regens. Why is that happening?
Yep.
And then I can't get it to regen, and now I'm derated, and what happens?
Yeah.
Like if we didn't have the OE stuff or had a friend that could tell us what to do or what, like we were screwed.
Yeah. And, being in a large bus company, you had some of the information. We had the ability to do our own warranty work.
Okay.
Because we bought so many buses. But you didn't have the information. And that was the big thing was, we had software that could do some of the work, but you bought 30 or 40 buses, all exactly the same, all the same mileage, all at the same time.
Yeah.
They all had the same problems all at
Right.
the same time, and you had no information as to what was going on. At least up at the dealership, they would see that stuff at multiple levels and be able to figure it out.
Now, are these Bluebirds?
No, so we ran internationals quite a bit. Towards the end, when I was getting out, they went to the Thomas with the 6.7.
Yep.
Because we were having so many problems with the Max 4.7s.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Which the Max Force is a lot like, was it the Ford 6?
The Ford 6.4.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Which was terrible.
We had tons of 365s and VT 365s, which we were able to get through.
Yeah.
With the EGRs, the EGR coolers, and all that stuff.
Promotive started because a couple industry friends and I were hanging out, and we realized that the number one challenge all the shops that we worked with for many decades faced was finding technicians. You hear technician shortage over and over out there, and we're not bringing kids into the industry today, and there's thankfully lots of other companies out there who do focus on that. But we believe that part of the technician shortage is the leakage coming out of the funnel. The people that are working with shops or dealers that aren't treating them right, they're just paired with the wrong environment, with the wrong owners. The technicians, instead of looking for new jobs and new opportunities, decide to leave the industry, or they get jaded on it. And we believe that there's a fit out there for the right techs with the right shops. And if we do that, then they're going to stay in the industry, and we're going to help, at the end of the day, the shortage by keeping technicians in the field. Promotive started just by realizing there's really not that many resources for technicians. Of course, there's certifications that they can get, and they can advance their skill set by doing hands-on training, or they can advance their skill set by testing, but there's not that many companies out there focused on making the technicians more successful in other areas. For example, knowing what their career path can be if they don't want to stay as a technician in the future.
And that we learned through. It was a struggle, but we made it through. But when the Max Force 7 or the 6.4 liter in our vans came out, it was a whole different ball game. Totally different design. Totally different processes. And then, when the 6.7 Cummins came through with the DEF, and then it was trying to learn DEF while we were also struggling with the 6.4, Max Force. So I decided I had enough fun, and that's when I got into working at Napa Auto Parts and running a store, and tried that for a few years.
And what was that like?
Being from the tech side, it had huge advantages. One, we deal with Napa a lot, partially because of a little bit of loyalty there, but they definitely have a culture of trying to take care of the customer.
Mm-hmm.
So being from the mechanic world, I could come in and deal with the shops that we dealt with and understand them a little bit better than some other people coming in.
And they probably would have respected you too, because you'd actually put some time in with a wrench in your hand versus just somebody who, as a salesman, maybe would have been coming from a different industry or an enthusiast level of a tool in their hand, not like the whole thing. You'd been there, had a fleet, 9 mechanics underneath you. They could probably relate to you pretty well.
Yeah. It didn't take long before they realized that I did know what I was talking about and had been there before, and that made it a lot easier. I just realized I didn't understand the retail part of it. You know, that was difficult for me, because even though it's like, well, it's auto parts, everything's good, the job is different. Understanding retail and retail budgets and inventory management and stuff is totally different.
Yeah. I have a good friend that just left way up in a dealer group back home.
Okay.
So he was buying, he was responsible for when they would take over a dealer. He was responsible for their parts inventory and what they would do with it, and what it was. He would essentially walk in and give a value to it, and then turn around that parts department as well. He said the same thing. To come from where he had been, which is just like a solar operator at a dealer, to then having to oversee all these acquisitions, he struggled with it at first,
Sure.
And then it was like, now he's the kind of guy that is just, he's good at whatever he does. So it's it translates. But now he's just recently left it, and he's going to go run his brother's tire store.
Okay.
Meineke Tires.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be Meineke Mufflers, now, because he just says, I just want out. I want to go back and do what I want to do finally. So, yeah. The retail thing is, I gave him some warning. I'm like, here's, you've been kind of away from, you've never really run a shop before. Now, he's been around enough service departments to know he's going to be okay. But I said, it's a little bit different in the aftermarket when you go out there, right?
Oh, yeah.
That customer is different than what your dealer customer that you're used to.
It is.
You're talking about their money now, not the OE's money. So
sure.
What? So you did the Napa thing.
Yeah.
And did you miss wrenching?
I did. I missed the shop portion of it. I missed kind of the different challenges you have in trying to figure cars out. Right. I missed the day-to-day. Mm-hmm. Getting older, it's a lot harder to do the day-to-day if I want to be on the floor. But
I feel you.
I missed the day-to-day. And I felt more comfortable in the shop world than I did the retail world.
Yeah.
It's totally different when you can surround yourself with people that understand vehicles, understand what goes on in them.
Most automotive conferences, unfortunately, only focus on one side of the shop. But Tectonic 2026, presented by TechMetric, is different. It's built for the whole shop. Owners, advisors, and technicians all have sessions designed for the work they actually do day to day. It's 3 days in Houston, packed with workshops, panels, and over 1,000 people from the industry are set to attend. And you don't need to be a TechMetric customer to qualify. Hit up the link in the show notes below and check out Tectonic 2026. Register now while you still can to get the early bird pricing.
When you go to the retail world and you're selling parts to like DIYers, you never know what level's coming in the door. And it seems like a lot of times we had DIYers that were jumping in well over their heads. And trying to help them through that from the parts counter was very, very difficult.
And see, that's something for me, because like I see it all the time, right? And it's like you've probably seen it in some of the groups in the conversation where they're like, well, I just wish the parts stores wouldn't sell to the DIYer.
Yeah.
Right? And we know that that's like, that ain't ever going to be a reality.
No.
Right?
No.
You're already trying to compete with them against Rock Auto and an online source and whatever. And you know what's kind of some of the garbage that they sell, right? Like at least you're giving them a good product. But like, did you ever have them come in and go, they want to buy some obscure thing for a car, check engine, resolve. And you're like, that's never going to work. You know that it's never going to work.
Yeah.
Yep.
And learning to navigate that with people was a struggle.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know how it was going to come across on the other end.
Right.
When they came in and they're like, hey, I just had my code read up the road, and it says that I need an EGR valve. And I was like, well, are you sure? Well, that's what it says. And then to kindly explain to them, well, an EGR flow code is not an EGR valve.
Yeah.
There's so many things that go into that code. That just tells you that it doesn't sense that there's enough going through there. There's so many things in that system that can affect that. That was, and then you're kind of talking yourself out of a sale.
Yeah.
So
huge, right?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
No, you're not supposed to.
No.
Right. But, and that's one thing that I did struggle with in that industry is just trying to make sure people were doing it right, which sometimes meant that I wasn't going to make as much money in an industry that wants to sell the parts to make the money.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was tough. Yep.
So you give that up and you go back. You decide.
So I had gotten transferred. I worked for a larger private Napa holder. They held quite a few Napa stores, and I got transferred. And I went from driving 2 minutes to work because we were in the same town to driving 45 minutes to work. And it's something that they were common on doing is just kind of moving store managers and kind of seeing where strengths and weaknesses are and stuff like that. But I didn't want to do that anymore. So one of my customers called me up. He has a small car dealership, has 3 service bays, and he's like, I heard you got transferred. Is that good or bad? And I said, well, I don't like driving that far. And he's like, so it wasn't a promotion? I said, no. He said, so are you looking? And I said, I don't know. Are you looking? He said, I kind of need someone to help me on the service end. He came from the world of, he just liked buying cars and didn't like how it was to buy cars. He didn't like dealing with dealerships to buy used cars. So he started a dealership. So he needed someone to help him run the service end because he had to learn that on the fly. And he had been in business for 10 years, I think, at the time. And was like, I want someone to run it and help me run the shop. And I said, yeah, I can do that. So I left Napa, went to work for him. About a year in, he starts nudging me and he's like, you need to buy this place. And we laughed about it and joked about it. And I'm like, he had this old Jeep, old 01 Wrangler, just rotten, beat up. It was kind of a loaner vehicle. We'd use it to run for parts and stuff.
Yep.
And I was like, only if I get that sweet Jeep across the street with it. And we joked, but it kind of became a thing of, I think we're getting close to year 2. And he's like, listen, I'm serious. You need to buy this place. And I said, well, give me a number. And he gave me a number. And I said, well, let me see what I can do. Because from the start, I mean, the reason I got into being a mechanic is because I wanted to run my own shop. Right. I wanted to help people when their cars are broken. I wanted to help them, get to where they need to go. I think that's what every mechanic kind of has in them, is that's truly what they want to do.
Yeah.
There's all different layers to it that come out as to why, but I think that's really what that's their way of helping people because they're good at figuring things out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We for me, I told the story. For me, where I grew up, like having a car meant a lot of freedom, because where I lived, the bus didn't run out there. So if you had friends that were like, 10 miles away, you didn't see them unless you rode your bike. Like the transit system didn't run out there.
Yeah.
So to get a car at 16, 17, 18 meant you could really open up your social circle a lot more. We're talking way back, kids, 1990s, right? Like I'm 50. So it meant a big deal to have a car. And then it just became a situation where I understood what a car is a person's freedom. Being able to move about freely is key for people. You talk to seniors and it's like the driver's license they hold is so dear because as soon as that's gone, their independence a lot of it is gone.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't really always appreciate what it meant to somebody, what their car truly represented. We see it sometimes like this thing's a piece of crap,
yeah.
Right. But it's their whole means of being self-reliant or being able to do things that they wouldn't otherwise see their people, take their husband to, chemotherapy treatment, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
We don't forget, we don't appreciate that sometimes. And I think it's big. So yeah, I'm getting better at wanting to help people.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't see it as just a job anymore.
Yeah. It becomes a little bit more than that. We see customers. We had a lady who, has some difficulty getting around.
Mm-hmm.
She works at one of our local gas stations. Wonderful lady. Yeah. But, that's her means. She gets a little bit of fixed income and then she does that to make ends meet. And she brought in her old Trailblazer, which was rough. It was and you have a hard time, and I think this is where a lot of guys say that, when I'm running my business, I have a hard time because I feel bad for people. Because when I look at her car and say, well, it's going to cost you $4,000 for me to make this thing go down the road safely, let alone it's a Trailblazer. The thing knocks when it starts up. It doesn't shift right. We're not even talking engine transmission yet. Yes. We're just talking suspension to get it down the road safely. And we started looking for another vehicle, and I just happened across a roughly used Grand Caravan that we were able to get her for a little bit less than what her car needed, but it was in way better shape mechanically.
Yeah.
And it's things like that. Like you're talking to independence, she needs that to get to work just to make a living, and things like that, being able to help people that way definitely made everyone in our dealership feel a lot better,
So you purchased the dealership from your friend.
Yep.
Some kind of, you get the Jeep, I assume.
So yeah, we got the Jeep. That was the joke. When we signed over, and the other thing is when we were negotiating prices, I said, they gave me a price and I said, I'm not going to pay the price minus $1. I'm like, I'm not going to pay more than that. So when we signed, I got $1 and change and I got the keys to the Jeep. And that was the most expensive 01 Wrangler that's ever been sold,
Yeah.
So we bought it, just about 2.5 years ago. Man, the story of buying the place, we had a tech leave right before we bought the place. Before we got an okay from the bank, he said that he had the opportunity to go to a bigger dealership with insurance and all the other benefits. And we didn't want to shy him away from that, but we weren't telling anyone about the sale yet because we weren't sure that it was going to happen.
Right.
So we basically said, I'm going to work in the Bay. While after he leaves, we'll get through to the end of the sale. And then once I buy it, I'll figure out what I'm going to fill the Bay with, So I already knew that was going to be a challenge. But we definitely wanted it bad enough that we were willing to keep going through even with one tech down in a 3-bay shop, So we made the deal. We got the okay from the bank after he left. I worked in that shop. We bought the shop. And within 1 month, the lube tire guy throws his back out for, I don't know, third or fourth time. He's hurt his back a few times.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you just can't do this anymore, So now I'm down 2.
Older guy?
No, he's probably about my age, probably about our age. But he had an accident of quite a few years back. Has had back surgery,
Yeah.
Plus, not that this job is easy when you're slinging tires and everything like that. So yeah, my son, who at the time was 15, almost 16, it was summer, and it's like, hey, bud, you can do some oil changes and tires. How you want to come work full time? And we just kind of threw him into it. Crash course. He got us through until we could make the mistake that everybody says about hiring 2 apprentices at the same time.
Yes. It's tough, isn't it?
It is. Luckily, I don't know, luckily blessed, however you want to put it, we got 2 fantastic kids. One of them, who is now 19, he's been fantastic. He's a friend of my son's. Jumped right into it. The other one, she's a farm girl, and
cool.
She came in. She's in her early 20s, and she's like, I do stuff on my trucks. I want to learn, and I want to work in a shop. And they're both good, solid people.
Yeah.
So they came in. They both work hard.
And that's the big, like, we talk about the shortage of young people, right? And everybody, they either, I want them to be able to do these 3 things. Like, all these colleges have got to be able to teach them to do this. I need them to do this minimum. It's not always about as simple as that. You know what I mean? It's I see so many, and it's like they have the ability, but they lack sometimes the confidence. Which slows them down. They're super focused on, I didn't make a mistake. I tightened this. You can see their gears are turning in their head. They're building the process. It's fascinating to watch, and then other people go, they're too friggin' slow. Oh my God, like they're doing almost a perfect job. Yeah, you want it done in 3 hours. It shouldn't take 3 hours to do an oil change. But I mean, like, I look at some of them, and it's what they want done for a DPI and an oil change now and an inspection. An hour is completely reasonable for a young person.
Oh yeah,
completely reasonable.
Yeah,
and yet it's like I need them to do 10 in the morning. Well, that's the wrong way to bring these young people in, right? Like,
yeah.
I always likened it to, like, everybody thought if you got 2 techs, then they cost X amount of dollars, or you go and get 2 apprentices and they cost half as much, and I get 2 of them, I get more work. It doesn't work like that, because you almost need. There's twice as much guidance having to go out.
Sure.
Like, you're stopping a lot more to, like, I don't want to say babysit, because that's a negative connotation, but, like, the mentorship spreads you really thin on 2 at once. I know what it was like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We, having the 3 bays, we got the 1 senior tech, and we just keep him going. We definitely had to change the way our shop worked and what kind of stuff it took on. My senior tech, he's been there for a long time. He's been there since the late 80s.
Wow.
He's definitely a solid, you give him a timing belt, give him suspension, give him whatever, he will definitely do it way under what book time is.
Yep.
But he does not like electronics. He doesn't like the new stuff. I did a lot of that stuff. So did the tech that left before we bought the place. So we definitely had to change our focus on what we were able to accomplish at our shop and what kind of work we brought in, and start those 2 from basics to make it manageable. But really, at that time, it was almost a point of survival. Like, what do? You got no one out there that we can find. We don't know. We just stepped into this thing. How the heck are we going to do this?
And losing the technician that's, I want to say, is up to date sometimes on the technology right now. That's the tough hole to fill. You know what I mean? It always has been. Like, I mean, we can. It's getting harder now to find anybody that we can to be able to. The average technician age right now, it's a stat that keeps floating around here, 43 years old.
Wow.
43. So you think about, like, how many 43-year-old techs are looking? None. They're already, if they're already somewhere, they're established and they're being taken care of and treated well, and for the most part, they're not gonna want to move. So we have to bring these young people in, but when we bring them in, like, you have to completely rethink how we were brought up, because like, they don't want to be ribbed and joked with the way we did. Like, they're I don't want to say they're soft, but they take it different. Yeah. And then, like, I don't even want to say constructive criticism, but, like, you have to show them guidance, and they ask you why. They ask why a lot.
Yeah.
Like, it's like having a child. Why? It's good. That's what I always want to be feeding them, is, like, when they stop asking why, I think that's when it's done. They're done learning.
Sure.
But when they have a question about why do you do something that way, like, yeah, it's a slow process, but slow down and show them. Because I think that's what instinctively then they ask why less, because they start to understand why you would do it that way, and then they think for themselves how it would probably be done. Sometimes the step B is not correct, but at least you're developing that confidence and that focus on, if I did this will probably come after the fact, and then so on and so forth.
Yeah.
That's how I think we get the young people going up to task as fast as possible. And
it totally is. It is different now with the younger generation than it was with ours. You know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, my service manager at the bus company, old Vietnam vet, had some foot problems, so he was grumpy. You know, we had people at our shop that he would fire every day. He'd fire them, and then when you went to pack your stuff up, he's like, "What are you doing? Get back to work." You know, it was rough. It was, you got slammed hard, but we stuck with it. You know, now they're not. They don't take that anymore. You know, they're like, well, then I'll just go somewhere else. I'll go do something else. This isn't worth it, you know. And I kind of likened it. I posted something on Facebook. Someone had asked a question about the new generation, and I kind of likened it to old cars. You know, back in the days when you had a flathead or a Y block or, you know, old Chevy 350, especially a 300 straight six, you could run those things without oil. You could abuse them, and they just took it. And they took it, and they grunted, and they kept working just like the old technicians did. The new technicians won't take that. If you don't change the oil, if you don't maintain a new car, that thing's going to die fast. But when you look at horsepower ratings and you look at efficiencies and you look at everything, the new technicians are kind of that same way. Once you're able to unlock that in them, you know, my apprentice, she started early, and she was very, you know, like you said, didn't have confidence, didn't know she could do stuff. And I walk her through it, and I'm like, hey, I got 4 things going on right now. Go bring the car in. You know how to get Pro Demand up, Identifix, bring it up. Start looking through it. I want you to familiarize yourself with how they say to do it. I'll be out there to help you in a minute. Right? Of course, half hour goes by, and I'm still not out there. By the time I walk out there, she looks at me and goes, I don't need you. Go away. You know, she figured it out. You know, I think it took her first oil cooler on a Pentastar 3.6. You know, she stumbled through it, and I was supposed to be out helping her, and she's one I can definitely trust that she's going to torque everything. She's going to walk step by step through it. I think her second one, she did about 10% under book time, and now she's the fastest one in the shop at doing those. You know, she just, it's crazy how good she is and how fast when you just, you know, walk them through, empower them. Give them the confidence, give them the pat on the back. When it comes that time, just let them struggle a little bit on their own. You know, you don't need to push them, nothing like that. So we have to handle them a lot differently than we were handled when we were growing up.
I just did one of those jobs right before I left to come here. So like Friday morning, I'm wrapping it up. It was a 2018 Ram with a 3.6, right?
Sure.
And I'm going back to remember, like, these stupid little locks on the connectors, right, and all that kind of stuff. Like, if you gave that to somebody brand new green and it never said, hey, these are you know, you're going to have to manipulate this to be able to unplug that because you got to get your harness out of the way. If we didn't, before you come back, they're really struggling with something, right? So it's just those little tips of saying, looking at a job and going, okay, I can kind of think this is going to be a snag for you. So let me go ahead and tell you to watch for this. And then other times they come out and it's just they instinctively went, I wonder if I click on this, and we didn't have to tell them. That's the wrinkle for me, is always like, I haven't figured out what I have to tell each one. Because what I think they all would struggle with, one just goes snap, snap, done, you know, no problems. Like, they're fascinating, especially the young women that come in, because like I see it, some of them are so detail oriented. Like, it's not surprising that some of the best auto body techs I've seen lately in the industry are female, because they're so detail oriented. Like their eye is refined, right? Everything is meticulous. They're sometimes they work cleaner. She's probably the cleanest worker.
She's organized. If you borrow her bait, so in our shop, you know, we put them through the Napa apprentice program. So she's learning on that. She's about halfway through the program now. And so she's got her toolkit, and it's her tools. As long as she finishes the program, she gets to keep them. But she's in her bay. So if anyone does work in her bay, they'll use her toolbox. If you don't put her tools back, she will flip out on you. It's crazy how clean and organized she is just instinctively.
Yeah.
Compared to some of the other techs that I've worked with. And she does have that eye.
Yeah.
She's definitely very detail oriented. When she puts stuff together, the harnesses go back where they're supposed to. It's definitely not a concern with her that everything's going to be done right. And it's amazing how, like you said, instinctively they do that.
Yeah.
I
don't know where it comes from. I don't know. Like, and again, I don't think it's necessarily a gender thing or a, young men play with this type of toy and younger. I don't think it's got zero to do with that. I just think it's like sometimes the ego of, oh, look how fast I got that done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What seems to be the male ideal in this industry, whereas the women seem to be like, look at how well I did that job.
I think you're right.
And I think we have to shift that back to that. But I wish more young women were getting into this trade every day. I just think it's like, I think there's so many opportunities. I think they would bring such a fresh breath to how we have to do this kind of stuff. And like, look at this stuff. It's, the vehicles are not small, but we're getting more and more equipment that's helping them overcome some of the physical And sure. I argue this, like, listen, I'm 50 years old. I don't want to be lifting tires on the trucks all day long. At 50.
Yeah.
At 22, could I do it? Yes. So we have to look at now maybe what is the new standard that we put up in there and the equipment that we put in the shop so that, like, none of us, male or female, 18 or 52, need to be lifting really heavy stuff if we can find another way to do it, right?
Sure.
We want our people to last longer and not be walking around on sore feet with, like, firing people all day long. The aches and pains thing is,
I think, we talk about our industry and how we want to improve it. A lot of people focus on the technicians coming up. What are we gonna do? Because, whatever excuse they want to use, whether, they don't work hard enough, they don't work fast enough, whatever it is. I think we need to look at our industry more. I mean, you and I are close to the same age, and both of us have the same, physical pains that, you look at my lube tech, who he still works with us part-time, but he's now part-time. He has other income, and we keep him around just to kind of help him, give him some spending money.
Yeah.
He's kind of our shop guy. He helps keep things clean. I fully believe he'd still be a lube tech if he didn't have the physical injuries that he has from the work he did. So, our generation looks at it like, hey, if you need something to lift a tire, you're just a wuss.
Yeah.
I think we need to get away from that mentality and understand that this is just a very physical job. And if we continue the way we're going to, mechanics aren't going to make it long enough to replace themselves with the new mechanics coming up.
And that's the thing. There's the aptitude factor, but then there's a whole other thing where it's like, we have a generation of kids that maybe never took gym. You know what I mean? Like, they never took physical education classes. So for them, the exertion of lifting of something like that is like, what? Are you kidding?
Yep.
I'm like, or swinging a hammer onto something. Like, my brother is a great example. My brother, weightlifting, like powerlifting, MMA, you name it, athletic stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He totally gets it. And he would see nothing wrong with picking up a weight 100 times and dropping it on the ground if the result was that it was going to make him stronger the next day to do it. If I was to go out and say, swing that hammer against that piece of control arm 10 times to get the ball joint on, you go, is there a better way? But he would take the hammer out and beat on a tire for an exercise. You know what I mean? So their intrinsic value ideals of, is there a more efficient, better way, is what we need to be developing.
Sure.
And they look at us like, I'm sitting here, I have to keep moving my left arm and I have to keep moving my right arm because, my tendonitis flares up. I don't want to see that for them when they're, 50 years old and still have 10 more years in the industry, 15 more years in it. I want to see them be a little bit more healthier than me. Now, I did some stupid things when I was younger and caused the injuries, right? That are not related to this industry. But, like, we should be able to market ourselves as a very safe, rewarding career.
Sure. I think I know my grandparents, they were on you work for a company, they take care of you most of your life, you retire.
Yeah.
I think we're to the point now, whether you stay with the same company, we need to be thinking about, we need to take care of our body long enough to make it, till retirement. My senior tech, he's getting up there in age. He's in his late 50s. He struggles a lot. He just had arm surgery, hand surgery last year. He's off for a couple months. He struggles just doing the day-to-day physically.
Yeah.
And his worry is, hey, I still need to make it to retirement, I hate the fact that we have to do that at this point, but I think we need to think about the future techs and helping them, create an environment where they can make it to retirement. I think that's going to be a key to making it more of an industry that they look at more.
And I've always been of I believe that the natural progression of a tech should be, hopefully, is that they can, develop a lot more of the mental side of the game, where you get into the diagnostic and the programming or the leadership role, instructional type thing, where there's a place for you in the shop, but it's not like a lot of lifting and, a lot of tires and stuff like that. But I see sometimes that we fail to execute like that. It's not scalable to a lot of shops where, I have a technician and they're 45, they're 50. And now I want to put them out on the front counter and be a service writer. They don't necessarily are comfortable with that, right? Yeah. Or we say, everybody says, you should make them a foreman in a shop. Sometimes a shop of a certain size, small, doesn't necessarily need a foreman.
Sure.
Right? Like that's where you would come out and be almost the acting foreman.
Yeah.
You wear multiple hats in the business all day long, I think, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So what do we do with that 45, 50-year-old that's slowing down? Like how do we keep them like what's the word I'm thinking of? Economically makes sense and still rewarding to them.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the struggle. Like that's the struggle we have. I think you're right. The natural progression you would hope is that they would start out lugging tires, putting on some suspension stuff, kind of going from there, and then get into the point where they can start doing engine work and the more intricate and more, detail oriented things you need to be a little bit smarter about and move up. And then you would hope that, later on they would have the experience to do the diagnostics and the things that require less lifting, more brain power. But I don't know that every tech has that in them. I think they kind of hit a skill level where, they're either no longer comfortable or no longer interested, and they kind of stop at a certain level.
Yeah.
So I think that's a key to it is how do we take whatever talent it is wherever they've kind of stalled at and help them through to the end of their career with it.
Because like your own tech wants nothing that left you guys, wanted nothing to do with the modern electrical drivability. And I can kind of relate because it's like we have the EV conversation keeps coming up.
Oh yeah.
And Seth Thorson says to me, this is coming. And I said, Seth, I'm going to be living in the woods hopefully by then with a dog sled and a horse.
Yep.
Because like I just, I have no, and it's not that I don't think the tech is cool. But I think the whole, what the EV thing is going, I think is just without being political, is just going in a direction that I don't want to be part of.
Sure.
And that's the nicest way. But like these young kids, like Sherwood from Royalty talked about his grandson, who essentially is taking apart a remote control car and melding it with some Lego toys to make a one-off, remote control. The kid's 8.
Yeah.
Like that is just, I wouldn't attempt that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a child that's 8 going, I wonder how I can make this do this and do that. And I'm totally honest, I was never that type of kid. Like I would take stuff apart, but I knew when I was taking it apart, I wasn't probably putting it back together.
Oh yeah.
Because I was with a hammer and a screwdriver, whatever tools I found, right? But this young man is already, young child is already thinking like, how do I do this in a manner that keeps it functional?
Sure.
Like that's the next level of skill. And then if they're totally into that EV thing, I think like if you got a technician that's interested in it, we have to this is going to be unpopular for a lot of shops. If you're not touching it, but they're really interested in it, you might need to really think about how do you point them to an employer that can get them that kind of experience and training.
I think you're right. I think, you talk about, in our industry, you talk about the struggle to get technicians and things like that, and everybody's kind of fighting for their own piece. I think we really need to look at the industry as a whole, and I think you're right. I think when you have technicians that have a certain skill or a certain desire, because that's what it takes. You either need to figure out how to modify your business to support them.
Yes.
Or you need to find them a place where they can work that will support them. And I kind of think we need to get together on things like that. We come from we're in a small city. We got about 20,000 in our city. There's a couple towns around us that are, 8 to 10,000 people. So fairly small.
Yeah.
We get along with a lot of the other shops in the area. We talk to each other. We work. If I'm overbooked, I'll definitely send it down the road and be like, "Hey, this guy's great down here. Go talk to him." Knowing that with the other shops in the area, if I get a guy come to me from the single guy tire shop down the road, and he's like, "Hey, they sent me to come get an alignment done," I'm like, "All right, yeah, I'll do an alignment." And they're like, "Hey, I have these other concerns." I'll be like, "You know what? He's your guy. Go back over there. I don't want to take business from him." But when it comes to technician stuff, same thing is if I have a technician that comes my way that doesn't fit what we're doing at our shop, I kind of need to, and it's easier for us to do in a small town because we know each other.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to work when you get into bigger cities when everybody's kind of fighting for their piece of the pie.
When you talked about how, if you had a customer bring you something for an alignment, and they're also, can you check X, Y, and Z while you're here? And you say, well, I could, but you belong to Carl, right? You're Carl's. Just have Carl look at it. I've never heard another shop owner that wouldn't be like, oh yeah, right away I can do that, and then yep, here's the thing. Yeah, we'll take care of it right now.
Yeah.
I think that we need to. I've always said this. I appreciate competition, but I mean, there's the idea that there's certain things that we can't talk about in this industry because it's called collusion.
Oh, yeah.
To me, is nonsense.
Yeah.
If we all sat down in a room and said, "Listen, okay, you're 130, you're 90. You don't have to go to 130, but let's get you above 100 right now." Yeah. And then let's start to everybody kind of come closer together. And you've got these OE tools, for instance. Maybe you got diagnostic scan tools, OE level for European cars. I'm going to send you all my European cars. I don't want to see a Chevy pickup truck in your laneway, though. Send it down to me. And in turn, we help one another, right?
Yeah.
But I always think that this industry, where it's gotten so far off into the rhubarb, is because I don't want to see anyone else succeed. I need all the cars for myself. Yeah. So I do everything. And it's Mike Allen was throwing a saying around, watch me get to scalable mediocrity.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's true, right? Yeah. It's I'd rather do it and do it okay than see somebody else do it awesome because I then didn't get to do it.
Yeah,
I was never that.
That doesn't fit us. I know that. No, I will do the best at what we can do. I will do the best for our customers at what we can do and what we have skills at. And I know there's other people out there that have skills that I don't have.
Right.
You talk about the EV industry. I think this stuff's interesting.
Right.
It really is. Nobody in my area will touch it. They won't even touch, unless you go to the big dealerships, nobody will even touch hybrids. They come in and they're like, hey, we have, we want a coolant flush on our hybrid. Nobody will touch it. They're like, go to the dealer. And I'm like, okay, we can do that. We've been through the safety courses. We can do, I'm not going to tear the battery out of it.
Right.
Because we're not at that level yet. We haven't made it there. But we'll touch them, and that's stuff that we can do. But there's other stuff. We've got a muffler shop in our area who's been a muffler shop for generations. And they do pipe bending, they do exhaust work, custom stuff. If you get a flex pipe rusted through on us, I'm going to send you to him because he's better skilled at that. And he's he's going to help that customer at a higher level than we will be able to, and at a better price than we will be able to.
Yeah.
And I think in our industry, we kind of need to get to that point. We need to remember that that's what we're here for. You know, we're not here to become millionaires on our own and step on the guy next to us. We're here to keep everybody moving.
Yeah.
You know,
100%. There is more cars than we can all get through. That's the thing that Lucas taught me. And, you know, I start to see it now where it's like, there really is too many cars for most of us to be ever able to get through. So the whole thing is like, let's make it worth everybody's while to do them, and let's put out a good product, and let's have some people have faith again in our industry. You know, it's a conversation there earlier. We need to get back to this idea of being craftsmen and taking real pride in what it is that I actually turned out, you know. And I believe that, like, with the young people, especially when they get into these high production dealership kind of jobs or chain store things, there is never that. There's never mentored into them the idea of being a craftsman. It's just the mentored into them of being a profit generator, a car fixer, a parts installer, whatever you want to call it, a tire guy.
Sure.
We don't have them where it's like, you took something that was broken and you made it whole again. That's a beautiful endorphic kick that you get from that. And we're not selling that to our young people enough the way we should be. You know, we're saying, oh, it's really cool, you can make some money and you get to play with new tech. No, let's go back to, you can take something that means a lot to somebody and it's broken, and you can restore it to where it works for them again. And you can do it with pride, and you can do it with, you know, real flair, real kind of like something you can be proud to say that not everybody can do that. Not everybody can go out there and solve why that car won't start. Example. Just the same as not everybody else can go out there and bend up a piece of pipe to put in a patch in an exhaust system that they do it in blinding speed. It costs less than putting on a piece of junk pipe that's going to rot out in 2 years, and the customer's happy.
Yeah.
That's what we need to be all doing, and shining light on, like, they're good at that, they're good at this, they're good at that. Let's all work together to, you know, all of us come up better. And that's going back to it. We need to slow down and stop looking at that guy down the road as our competition. It's the same that the argument for me, you know, dealerships techs are this and independent techs are that. I hate that. It drives me crazy, because when you start talking about how they're treated and where they tend to work, how they tend to be paid, everybody all of a sudden goes, oh, I didn't know that's how it went. That makes a lot more sense why I had to take it back 3 times when it was for this intermittent problem. Yeah, because they're not getting paid to fix your car. That's the right. Like you. So all of a sudden, then they go, wow, now I'm a little more understanding. Okay. So now we're a little more understanding when the customer comes into us with a problem about what they claim has been somewhere else. I never took that at face value.
No.
Ever.
No.
Like, you know, it doesn't mean anything to me. We're starting over here. Like, we're going to ask questions, but I don't want to hear that you took it there for brakes. We all heard the thing. Well, I went in there for the check engine light on, and when I left, it was $1,300. I got new brakes while I was there, but a check engine light was still $1,300. No, it wasn't.
Yep.
It was really $150.
Mm-hmm.
But all the other thing is like, because in their mind, what I took it in for cost me $1,300.
Yeah. Yep.
That's where we need to slow down and share some of this. You know.
Yeah.
What's the biggest obstacle you're seeing right now in the industry?
Ooh.
Is it technician shortage, lack of information, lack of training? There's 3 big ones there.
Yeah, those are huge. You know, like I said, we're a small shop. I think the technician shortage, I see it around our area. I think that definitely affects the industry. It affected us when I couldn't find a good technician right away, and I ended up hiring two apprentices.
Yeah.
It affected the way that we did business, but we were able to, you know, to pivot and get done what we needed to get done in our shop. I think as a whole, that's definitely you see guys like Check Engine Chuck, and you see, Royalty Auto, and they're guys that can dissect a car, diagnose it, and fix it correctly the first time.
Yep.
I think as an industry, that's definitely a struggle, is having those high performers to help give our industry a better name for itself.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of people that are mediocre trying to do that and making a mess of it. And then, of course, the customer sees I went in for a check engine light. I paid $1,300, and now the check engine light's on again.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely a struggle. I think here recently, a lot of the vehicles we see are 5 to 10 years old. We see a little bit more of people that are more conservative with their money, not the brand new stuff. So, we're just starting now to see like 21, 22s come through for brakes and things like that. And I've run across a couple that even with our Snap-on scanner, even with all our access to everything and the secure link and everything like that there are still vehicles that we're struggling to turn the parking brakes off of.
Yeah.
We've spent a lot of money for all this stuff to not be able, and then you're looking at YouTube trying to find the back door to
and we know what it is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you just unplug it and jump power and ground to it. But like that works until it doesn't.
Exactly.
And it scares me every time I do it. It's a pucker factor. The first time I ever do it on like, I still have a hard fast rule. I don't do it on a Euro car, right? I will not, because if it's gonna bugger up, it'll be on one of them that you did it that way. And then everybody else is like, pfft. I have a shop owner, brilliant guy, friend of mine. He's like, I've never used the scan tool or never used the process on Ford or Chrysler to do it. I just go back there and unplug them and do it, and I've never had a problem.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. Like, I'm the new Silverados with that big bulletin about how, you pull the fluid out of the master cylinder, right? And all that kind of stuff in the sequence. And Brian Pollock's like, don't read RTFM. You'll brick the damn thing, and then you got to call Brian and get him to tell you how to fix it.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm still paranoid now when it's like, and it's a slow brake job for me.
Sure.
I haven't screwed one up yet. But I talked to all these guys, and they're like, yeah, the first one we did, man, we screwed that up, but I'm good. So I'm always like, listen, I don't care how long it took me. I don't care how long did you make it through without causing more damage, doing more harm, as we say. Yeah, then cool, man. Yeah. Now we learned something. That's a perfect example. The other thing is like the what was I trying to navigate? And it was like, a Nissan for memory functions didn't work.
Okay.
It's like a 2022 Murano. Mm-hmm. Memory seats, memory mirrors didn't work. So when the memory mirror doesn't work, the power mirror won't work.
Okay.
Well, like I'm looking at this description published from Nissan, and I worked at the dealer, but I'm like, I haven't worked on this particular generation of Murano yet. How does this work? Like, okay, sure, there's all the signals going out, but it's not telling you what each wire is actually doing.
Sure.
Back and forth. You know that it's data, but what's it supposed to look like?
Yeah.
Don't know. Do I have another one on the lot to go compare? No. So I have to go back to my instincts and go, does it have all the powers and grounds it needs? Yeah. Is there any breaks in the wires between there to there? Nope. Okay. And I put my hand up and go, listen, I don't feel confident enough on this to say I think it's that module, but can we ship it down to the dealer and ask them? Because they're going to charge $150 to do diag, right? And then they're going to be able to tell maybe their OE system is going to give them more. It goes down there. They spend an hour on it. He goes, yep, needs memory module. Here's the part number. I'm like, yeah, I got the part number already. I looked it up. So my own lack of confidence meant that we spent another $150 to get collaborated results. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
People that are in this industry and it's like, I don't have a problem with that. That gives me confidence to know, you know what you're talking about. You know what you're doing. You would have been right, but man, what if I'd have been wrong?
Oh yeah. And that's, and the thing is, it comes to the point of the customer. If we're wrong on this stuff, we're really wrong.
Yeah.
When you do something like that and you take a guess at a module, that's not cheap. And then where does that lie?
Yeah.
I know in our instance, we probably eat more than we should because we want to make sure that the customer has the confidence in us. We're also not holier than thou is what I can think
Yeah.
of. When it comes to a customer, we're okay with saying, hey, we messed up,
Yeah.
we were doing this and we broke this, we broke that. Because the stuff is getting so complicated, and the information for it isn't always there, and you're trying to take care of the customer right away. So, yeah, I think the information, getting the information to do the job correctly, especially with how fast things are advancing and things are changing. It seems like every couple of years they change the way something's wired or the way that some system actuates, and you're relearning over and over and over again.
I just had a conversation the other day. A guy's trying to fix an ambient air temp sensor code in a Chevy Silverado. Now, depending on the trim line that's on the Chevy Silverado, it'll take the ambient air temperature sensor data for the ECM, not for the cluster, but it will take it from either, get this, the door mirrors, or it takes it from the sensor. It just depends on how the car is configured. Where do they put the sensor?
Sure.
Well, we might just put it down in front of the rad like we have forever, but let's stick it in the mirror. Somebody's going, I got a Silverado with an ambient air temp code, right? If you don't know the VIN number, the RPO codes, all that other kind of stuff, and this is my argument is why Pro Demand or All Data punch that in and it comes up and it says, yeah, this is, and this page or will be with this. Why is it like that? Wait a minute. Whereas if you have the OE stuff, it doesn't give you all those other options. It gives you the exact way it was written on the diagram. I'm not seeing optional connector here, optional wire here, none of that. Yeah. I'm seeing exactly. We need to be demanding in the aftermarket way better service information that we're paying for to say that's too friggin' inaccurate anymore. I'm not paying for that. We get talking about somebody's asking me about Chrysler's fuel pump bypass, the tip and bypass.
Sure.
And he's sending me, he's like, that wiring diagram looks to me like it's written backwards. Like that's not really how it works. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I haven't worked on that in so long I can't even remember now, right? I don't if you tell me that it's not actually ground side switch, it's power side switch, I'm gonna believe you. You're a smart guy. You proved it to me. But he's asking me, and I'm like, I don't know. My brain can't keep all that stuff straight.
No.
Remember, I get the wiring diagram out and I look at it, and if I find an irregularity with it, it's probably going to send me down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like so angry that I'll be wanting to call someone and say, hey, this is published wrong? And they'll probably go, oh yeah, we got a fix for that coming.
Sure. You get on that, and the fuel pump sensor issue that they had a few years ago. We had that problem. We had a Pacifica come through, needed a fuel pump sensor, it ran through everything. Yep, sensor's not reading correctly. It's bad sensor. So we order one, and they send us a sensor. And we're like, hey, this sensor doesn't have the same pigtail. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's updated. Okay, send me the update. So they send us the pigtail, and there's a little instructions on how to connect the sensor. What they didn't tell you was they flipped the wires.
Yeah.
We put it in. The engine light's still on. We're like, what the heck? We go through all our diagnostics again. We call them up, and they're like, yeah, you'll have to send it up to us for us to look at. So we send it up to the dealer, and the dealer's like, oh, yeah, you got the wires backwards. And we're like, no, we wired it exactly the way it came off. They said, we know when you put the new one in, you're supposed to flip it. It says it in our service manual. But where is that published aftermarket? Absolutely nobody knows.
It's a parts note.
Yep.
That the parts guy should have, or person, should have told you about, but they don't bother because they're so inundated with I'm looking up this real quick, and they need the inventory and where is it located, and they're forgetting to go, hey, by the way, let me print this and put it in a box with you. They don't have time to do that.
No.
That's where I love this networking thing, right? Because
you're
telling me about it, and I'm going like this. I'm making a symbol.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've been there.
Been
there, done that, heard about it, talked about it, the whole thing. If somebody wasn't so lucky to be networking the way we are, or in the middle of somewhere else, you would tear that whole damn car apart.
Oh, yeah.
And think, computer's bad. Computer has to be bad.
Yeah.
Harness has to be bad. And then to find out that when they rebuilt the part to make it better, obviously fixed something and never bothered to tell you.
Sure.
That's the kind of stuff that, I want to be able to call them up and say, here's my bill for your failure. You owe me this.
Oh, yeah.
Have a nice day.
Yeah.
But the dealer's going to tell you to F off.
Oh,
the
yeah.
OE's going to be like, who are you again?
Yeah.
Like, you're not even supposed to be working on this. So.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And you get onto that with, I heard someone talking about it with, our technician shortage thing and everything is, these techs at dealerships are getting paid, halftime for warranty. Yeah. And who's responsible for the reason it's under warranty? Say, just like this. You updated the part, but the information wasn't relayed. Who's responsible for that versus who's going to have to pay for it?
And my heart breaks for the dealership techs now because I know, like, that's my background. I know how tough it was, right? Oh, yeah. And some days it was easy. Oh, it was easy some days. Some days it was ridiculous. But other days it was really, really hard. It just was like a constant reality check. You get your teeth kicked in after one car after one car after one car. We all get that in this industry, but the dealer thing is like, you're doing it at a level where you're not getting paid. You've already passed the point of there's no way I'm 4 hours into this. Nobody's ever paid out more than 2 hours for this type of problem.
Sure.
So I'm already 2 hours in the hole.
Sure.
And now I have to cut bait. I have to make a decision. What do I do? And you pull the trigger on a module, right?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, well, because the reality is there's a wiring in the harness somewhere that's touching ground intermittently, but you're never gonna find it.
No.
You're never going to find it. And so when people rip on anyone else anymore, I'm just like, I try to remove myself from those kind of conversations because it's like, I've been fortunate enough to meet so many smart people and none of them are dumb. None of them are dumb. It's just some of them have a different experience, like a lot of experiences over and over again that led them to believe that, they were really bad for modules. I put a module in it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're dumb. It's just what their instincts have developed and honed points them that, like, you gotta know that module's not the problem. Well, if you're a dealer guy, how did you learn that? You took one out of the other exact car part next to you, same color, plugged it in, and it fixed it. Good, my diag was done. Yep. They never learned the proper way. If you didn't have that as an option, what's the next way to diagnose something? A little more involved.
Oh, yeah.
And they always don't want to pay now. We got talking this morning, and it's like, you're going to see this VR and AI thing come along where technician's going to put a VR helmet on, talk to an AI generator, and you're going to do tests, and it's going to tell you to do the next test and the next test, and it's going to come to a conclusion and say, install that part or fix that here.
Yeah.
That's the reality. And it isn't because our people can't do the work. It's because they don't want to pay what our people are going to cost to do that work.
Sure.
And we've failed forever to put in processes that teach them to where we don't have to rely on that technology, but they don't want to revamp their system by now.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that years ago. I had a guy come to work for me at the bus company who was a GM tech, worked at a GM dealer. And they even did it with the OnStar system because they didn't, there's security stuff there. They don't want that information going out. But that's what it was. It was call the tech department. The tech department's going to tell you to take these 2 color wires. They're going to test here, call us back with the results. So he would call them back up, and they're like, okay, check this one, check that one. After a few tests, they're like, all right, we're sending you some parts. Put in the parts. And that was it. Yeah. No clue as to how it worked. He just, and you see that where they're starting to go that way because it takes the variables out of the technician on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're trusting that, like, I had a friend of mine. He's got an older Tundra. He changed the engine in it. Mm-hmm. Then he puts the Tundra in, of course, like, what happens? Mm-hmm. Won't start. Mm-hmm. He's got coil control codes, all 6 coils. So he goes through the whole thing, and he's talking to me. He's like, can I just bring this to you? And I'm like, dude, I'm so far in the weeds right now at my shop. Like, I don't have time. And then, like, I'm about to go to SEMA. Like, I don't think I'll have time. What's the problem here? And he's like, well, I took the engine out and I said, sounds to me like you got a ground that's missing. No, I went and checked. Like, I'm pretty sure. I'm like, so test here and test here. Tell me what he's doing. He's like, and I don't even have 5 volts. He says I have 7 volts on my 5 volt. I'm like, there's a ground missing, man. If it's it's a dumb term, but I said, if it's growing voltage on the 5 volt, it's missing a ground. It's backfeeding. It's looking for it. Well, he's like, I just don't want to. I don't want to F with this anymore. The truck's been laid up for a year. Oh. Well, first it went through a transmission. It was driving after you put the tranny in 2 months, and then the engine calved. And he took the engine out, took it to a guy, a local machine shop, not just a guy. Rebuilt the engine, He's waiting to get money and space and time. He gets the engine back in. Of course, how long ago did he take the engine out? 6 months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to remember where everything goes. So if he calls me just before I'm getting ready to leave, and he goes, I got it figured out. I'm like, oh, yeah, what was it? He's like, it was a ground. So he's not a dumb kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not a dumb mechanic. But sometimes it's the old, somebody brought me a box of parts, and you want me to put it back together.
Yeah.
It takes a real, maybe crazy or a really brave person to say, yeah, I'll tackle that.
I'll try that.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what's missing, I think, sometimes, is that we haven't been able to nurture that you can get through it.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna punish you for getting through it.
Yeah, I think that kind of, I know growing up that got into my head sometimes was, I'm this far into it, I need to figure it out right now, and then you start to forget the simple things.
Yes.
I think nurturing young techs and giving them the ability to kind of find their way through it and know when to step back for a second and reset, and that they can do it, and they're smart enough to, because most of them are. You know, you hear people rip on the new techs and their working ability and stuff like that. They're not dumb.
No.
They're not dumb. My techs are super intelligent, and they need to learn. They need to experience it before they know, you know, how the stuff goes together, the things that can go wrong. They need to understand that we're all human. We were just talking about it at lunch today, and we brought up about one of our techs putting the wrong size or grabbing the wrong size tires.
Yeah.
We had a customer that, luckily it was the same customer. He bought tires for his son's car and for his car. At the same time, we ordered tires ahead. They come into the shop. His son car comes in. They go grab the tires that are labeled for the customer, put them on the car. The dad comes in. We go to put his tires on. Like, hey, these are the wrong size tires. Why do we have the wrong size tire? Where did the tires go? And we're searching all over, and then we figure, someone didn't check the tires when we put it on the son's car, and we put the dad's tires on the son's car and have the son's car tires sitting there. Luckily, story turns out, great customer. He was mad for a second, then went, you know what? People make mistakes. It's fine. Nothing got in. No one got hurt. And we fixed it. But my tech got really kind of butthurt, and he's like, well, I don't. It was late. I'm like, dude, it's fine, man. Yeah. I've made mistakes. You know, we all make mistakes.
That mistake happens in a shop every day.
Oh, yeah.
At least a dozen times across the industry.
Yeah.
I'm going to say right now in Canada, it's probably happened 10 times today.
Yeah.
By 9 o'clock.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, I've done it. My mother's tires, when I put them on, they're directional.
Yep.
I got 2 of them going the wrong way.
Yeah.
It's just because you're constantly, I got to get this done. You know, I'm trying to help this out, and this is where we develop processes, and that's the thing. Like, how do we? It's just the little things.
Sure.
Slow down. Slow down to go fast.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And don't punish them. Like me, I've been that technician where it was like, if they trucked out the tires to go put on that truck by that customer's name, and they were the wrong size, I would have lost my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, no, like, you know how much time I'm wasting? Like, let me guess now. I've already got these broke down and off the rims. And, oh, wait, they're not even in stock, so now I got to put these on. Who's paying for that?
Yeah.
That would have been me. Yeah. And now I'm, like, in a situation sometimes where I still see things like people order the wrong tire size. It's supposed to be a 75, and we ordered a 65. You know? Shit. What do we do?
Yep.
You just laugh about it.
Yeah.
You know? Just laugh about it.
It's a mistake. It happens. Yeah. It sucks to be human, you know. And
really,
I think that's a big thing with the upcoming techs is we need to be able to let them understand that your whole learning process is making mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, you try something, you do something, you make a mistake. Hopefully it's not expensive, and we move on with life, and you learn because you won't do it again.
Yeah.
Once, at least not often and not for a while. Mm-hmm. You know. So I think that's definitely it. Is letting them know it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah,
you just
100%.
You try your best to take your time and not make them.
I've met some of the sharpest technicians in the industry. Had long, drawn-out conversations with them, and they have shared some stuff with me that they fucked up when they were young that would make you laugh.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, and you're just looking at them like some of the top, and you're like, what? And then you laugh about it.
Yeah.
Because he's human, I'm human, you're human. So, and wrapping up, what's the you got a 2-year goal?
In 2 years, my wife and I are hoping to have things moving smooth enough, have enough processes in place that we can kind of step back and be owners instead of the day-to-day.
Right.
And we're also looking right about 2 to 3 years. We'd like to expand, add a few bays to the shop, kind of bring on some new people. And in that stepping back, we'd like to be able to step back and just kind of mentor some new people and go from there. We definitely are on a path where we'd like to grow. We got into it saying, I'm sick of working 60, 70, 80 hours a week for another guy. If we're going to make another step in our lives, let's do it for ourselves.
Right.
Where I think we've kind of renewed that to let's turn this into something better than just us, bigger than us. And I do kind of have a soft spot for bringing up younger techs.
It's very rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah, I did it at the bus company. My last few years I brought on some new people because I was getting sick of hiring guys that had a chip on their shoulder, bad habits, and ego, because I just didn't have time for that. And I was like, I'll figure out how to teach someone from the oil change. So when we brought the new techs in here, it's rewarding to see them kind of hold on to you and grow. And we brought our 2 techs, our apprentices, here to SEMA with us. They're ecstatic. They're like, I can't believe we get to do this. And I'm like, I can't believe I had to pay for this. I shouldn't have opened my mouth and said we'd take you with, but it's great to see them open up their eyes. It's great to see where they came from and where they're at.
The return on this investment, Chuck, is going to be incredible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
100%, right?
Yeah.
Do you go to any other events?
So I personally was down at ASTA,
okay,
in North Carolina, and I try to get to some training here and there and do that, and it's definitely, we want to make it a regular thing, getting our techs to training and events and stuff like that, because as much as people look at it and think, it's just, they're just trying to sell you stuff there. There's a lot of education, a lot of networking, and a lot of valuable information that comes out of these.
The networking, we keep saying about it, right? I'm to a point now where it's like it's hard to keep everybody straight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I met them a year ago at this event, and now I'm here again at this event, and I'm like, I know I met you, but help me out with your name here, right? And then you combine that by so you see a couple of the really diehards, and they're at a lot of the events. They become very familiar.
Yeah.
But it's these ones where I only see somebody a year at a time that's trying to remember. Okay. By the third year, I asked them walking around, going, "Yeah, I remember." But this event is so big.
Oh yeah.
And APPEX is I've yet when I've been at APPEX, and I was here last year for the first time. This is only my second year. I've never even been in a classroom yet at APPEX, because when I'm here, I'm so busy networking and talking to people and recording. I couldn't even show you where the classes are or what it's like to sit in one. But I know that they're as good as anything else that's out there right now. And, people make it a point to at least get to one of your events and take your people. Your people are going to be blown away by what they're going to see here at SEMA.
Oh yeah.
And what they're going to see at APPEX. Absolutely blown away. The people that make the parts that you guys install are here.
Yeah.
They're from all over the world. This is a global thing. And SEMA, have you ever had any kind of love for the industry? A lot of us got into what got us into it. It's all there.
Oh,
I interviewed with Eric, the car guy, this morning, of all people. That's the coolest thing in the world. That somebody that I've been watching online for almost 20 years is walking around to this event, and you can stop them, introduce yourself, say hello, and have an absolutely amazing conversation. And this is the way this industry is going to improve, is just through conversation. That's it. It's not going to be, only what we learn, but it's what we learn in the class for the tech, and then it's what we learn on what we can really do.
I think a lot of learning from each other, a lot of the conversations that they're gonna spark ideas and bring up new ideas, and that's what's gonna help us improve this industry. Is what works for you, what works for me, how are things going, and just sharing that and building. If you look at anything, racing, anything where you're trying to build a high performance machine or you're trying to improve, the only way is trial and error. And if you can take the error from someone else and learn from that, that's definitely that's how we get there.
So how do people find you, Chuck?
So we actually just brought up a new service site. It's 10pintirepros.com.
Okay.
We're out of Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, small car dealership, do all sorts of repairs, stuff like that. We're hoping to grow, so you can find us there. Our car sales site is 10pinmotors.com. So yeah, that's
Very
and then
cool.
we're on Facebook. We do a lot with Changing the Industry podcast. We're on there all the time and things like that. And we've got a TikTok account for 10pin where you can see stuff like my apprentice walk across the alignment rack, which I never suggest doing, and taking a face first into the ground. That seems to be our best video so far.
I'll look for that.
Yeah.
Not that I want to see somebody suffer, but I mean,
he does it gracefully. He gets right back up. He's a good sport
Shakes
about
it
it.
off.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being here today. I really enjoyed this.
I appreciate the time. I appreciate the opportunity. This is awesome.
This is awesome. I appreciate you. We'll talk to you everybody soon.